thank you very much. This is Kawaii Goxay, and my feature this week is full of sex in it.
Hello and welcome to Quackcast 295. This is the Drunkduck Quackcast with me, Ozone Ocean, the lovely, attractive, gorgeous Tanserine. Hello, Tanserine.
Hello.
Hello.
And the inimitable Baines, the solid rock that the Quackcast revolves around.
Thanks, man.
Mr. Baines.
Hello.
So we're going to be talking about... This is another Sexcast. We've done Sexcast before. This is another one, but it's about sex in non-adult comics. How that goes. You know, how you go about doing that. Because there's a bunch of challenges involved in having sex in a non-adult comic. A lot of things you can't show, obviously. But that means a whole lot of different things, because you really can't... sex isn't in the comic for the same reasons as it is in an adult comic. You know, it's not there to titillate and excite or whatever, and you can't show all those kind of things anyway that you can in
is it?
Or is it? Yes. Very, very, very good point.
What you don't see, my friend, is sometimes much more titillating than what you do see.
Very true. And this was Tance's idea, because we all know Tances are highly, highly interested in this subject.
She never stops talking about it.
Never.
Yeah.
As soon as the microphone's dead, my God. My face just goes pure red.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I
Everyone knows it.
I sweat from
Everyone
my
knows that.
palms.
I am completely comfortable and have no problem creating comics that revolve around sex. It's like second nature to me by now.
It's true,
Yeah.
see? I get so nervous around Tance. I'm just shaking just with embarrassment all the time, because, you know, it's like...
Because you are too pure for me.
It's true. It's true. Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. So...
I'm not that old. I'm not older than you.
So that's what we're going to be chatting about. But before we get into that, we have the featured comic. So take it away, Kwaidagakse, with your feature.
Hello, this is Kwaidagakse, and the feature I've selected for this week is Fred by Crazy Fred 22, and it is rated M for mature. Unlucky Fred has found himself unemployed on the day of the zombie apocalypse. Have you ever felt like a mindless zombie while at work? I bet it can't be any worse than being an actual zombie while looking for work. Observe Fred's journey as he makes his way to new job interviews, meets delicious bosses, grows a penchant for rat smoothies, and falls in love with his female coworker. He's a zombie, just trying to make an honest unliving. The art is drawn in a full-page format and colored digitally using digital ink. Make friends with the most charismatic zombie on Earth, and read Fred by Crazy Fred 22, rated M.
And that was Kwaidagakse with the feature. Thank you very much. You were fantastic. It was good for me. Alright. So we have the featured music by Mr. Gun Wallace, and this week Gun Wallace has given us the music for Firefly Cross. Now, Firefly Cross is... I can't remember. It's a comic.
It's the only comic that is quote unquote fairy that I follow, that I read.
It's
Very interesting. Fun. Yeah, it's anthropomorphic animals.
Okay.
That, however, they have interesting
Sex?
racial discrimination. That's a different comic, I think. See, now you stop me from actually giving you a break and filling in for you because you don't remember the comic.
Yeah. So they have interesting racial discrimination based on species, I imagine. Which is
Yes, speciesism. There you go.
there you go.
And there's also very interesting fantasy-oriented adventure / suspense story going on. So definitely check it out, guys.
Thank you very much for that. The music I would describe it as a mystical sound with traditional Middle Eastern style music mixed with a dark techno fuzz. This one is very intriguing, so enjoy. And that was our featured music. Thank you for that, Mr. Gummer. So, sex in non-adult comics. All of us do non-adult
I
comics.
not expected you to say Sex in the City.
Sex in the City. Oh. All of us do non-adult comics. And at least Tansa and I have had sex scenes in our comics. Tansa recently had a very steamy scene. But what were the challenges involved in putting that in the comic? Because you couldn't like go as hardcore as like Mr. Death Porn Man. LC.
No.
Porn man.
Yeah. I couldn't go nearly. I mean,
You couldn't go as
I don't
deep.
think I could create a panel from that. But yeah. To be honest, I had cold feet about that for a long time. I did my best to procrastinate that scene for forever. But I couldn't avoid it because it was a very important scene to sort of give the alignment of the new character, Iris, that is being introduced. And we're going to see her, like in the very next scene, in a non-compromising position, where I think a lot of things and a lot of hypotheses would be able to be construed exactly because of the way she was introduced. So,
Okay.
yeah, it was. I was extremely nervous about it. I had no way how to do it and not make it, graphic, way beyond the scope of Without Moonlight, because I also don't, the violence, I also try to not make it too graphic, so I cannot make the sex too graphic either.
That makes
It has
sense.
to be within the same balance, in a sense. And I also really didn't like, it's not a happy sex movie. Funny. It's a fun. So, it was really hard to, I wanted to give the entire impression without showing anything too condemning, in a sense. So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Sex in a non-adult rated comic, why do you put a sex scene in there? It's not for the same purposes as it is in an outright comic. So you're not titillating people. In Without Moonlight, the purpose is to give a bit of a tone for the character and a tone for their relationship, I would say. To show a power relationship, and also, the way these characters trade off each other, and the way they, the way they conduct themselves, that kind of thing. So that's why you're introducing that, not for the titillation. So that's an interesting aspect. So sex has very different purposes and meanings in non-adult rated comics. Like, in Pinky TA, I have one almost graphic sex scene in a dream Pinky has, and the whole thing there is like to lend a bit of a shock value, if you even notice it's there, and also comedic. There's a bit of comedic value in there. Pinky falls asleep and she's having a sexy dream and she's enjoying it, and then it ends with her seeing she's actually having sex with her enemy that she hates, and that wakes her up, and she no longer feels it sexy at all. So, there are other challenges too. The obvious ones are, like, as you said, you can't show like the bits and the pieces, so you have to indicate that sex is happening, but without showing it. And so how do
without moonlight, we call it.
Yes.
You don't want the moon.
No full moons, no.
No.
Although, with our ratings, you can, with the Drunkduck ratings, for adults, things like we'll have it'll show penetration basically, or that kind of thing. We're fairly lenient, so you can show like genitals in an M-rated comic, and that's all right. So genitalia can be shown as long as it's it's not all. That's not all the comics about that. If it just appears, that's fine. Just like movie ratings, basically.
Yeah.
And so if it's a teen comic, you can show a bottom, but you don't show full frontal nudity. So, you can get away with these things if you're careful enough.
Mm-hmm.
So what rating does Without Moonlight have?
Mature. An M rating.
An M. Pinky TA has a teen rating.
Yeah.
So you can actually get away with giving us a full frontal of Basil if you want.
Yeah, but then I think the character will commit suicide. Basil.
That'll be in the scene for the ladies. Basil will have a shower.
It will be in the director's cut or something. But yeah, I don't think as a comic that Without Moonlight is the way I have designed it would be true to its own self. If anything, that goes too extreme in terms of gore, in terms of violence, and in terms of sex, wouldn't be too extreme. And like you can imagine the extreme, but not see it. And that's why some of the deaths that will occur or have occurred are off screen, because they would have been too graphic or things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and especially, in the sex, I was more interested in the moments right after the sex,
Yeah.
Rather than
because that
actually-
would show, it would put the sex in context more. Like also show the attitudes, as you said, the attitudes of the characters towards each other, and how, they are both in this power relationship, and I think both of them feel that they have the upper hand. Nobody yet, the audience cannot be sure who has the upper hand yet, for real. So there you go.
That's definitely what's interesting about that scene is like how they behave right after. Like when the phone rings and you're kind of looking at like the way they're reacting to each other and their body language and kind of what's going, like what's the dynamic kind of personally. Yeah, that's great.
To work that out. What other comics do we know who sort of tread this fine line as well, and why? Well, we've got Bottomless Waitress that we do, which is an M-rated comic. There are no sex scenes in that one yet, but it's the kind of comic you would expect to have sex scenes.
Yes, we might be leading up to that eventually. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. Although there are lots of moons, and
yes, with Moonlight, the original title.
With Moonlight. Despite all the moonlight in there and all the allusions to the conclusion of said moonlight, I wouldn't expect an actual graphic, at least graphic sex scene or a sex scene to just pop up. It doesn't make me expect this sort of interaction.
Yeah.
Too much the way it's presented.
Because we take so many pains to hide a lot of things. It's a tease comic, so you come to expect that it's that things are not revealed because it teases so much and never does reveal. Polly never shows her red squirrel, for example.
I think it would be pretty jarring, and I agree that it's not. It might be at the end of the story or at the end of a chapter. There might be something going on, but I agree that it would be pretty jarring if you suddenly saw a graphic sex scene in that comic. It doesn't really fit. It's not really meant to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly what you said. Yeah.
More of a Benny Hill sort of thing.
Oh my God!
Now, whenever I click on that comic, I will have that music in my head. Thank you.
Yuckity sex.
You're probably right. Yeah, it's pretty Benny Hillish.
The other comic that recently has had a sex scene is Daniel, by Sarah N.
Oh.
Where again, it's very elegantly presented. Like you don't see anything graphic, although she has huge warnings. Not suitable for work. You don't see anything.
Yeah.
And again, the sex is more to demonstrate how the main character, Daniel, has changed from what he was introduced as in the beginning. And it's more for shock value, but not in the sense, to shock because of the sex, but because of the character's transformation, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and that is actually very efficient.
Daniel by Sarah M. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, I know the comic. You mentioned another one before, The Fracture, I believe it was called.
No, it's a faction. It's a faction.
Oh,
And people
Faction.
has
Faction. Right.
okay. What?
Although The Fracture is a good title too.
It is. I mean, that would have to be a pretty intense sex scene to cause that. You probably have to change the rating in order to show that.
Right.
So, The Faction is a comic by Pepe.
Bye-bye.
See, I can't do it as well. And Tance was telling us about this. Its comic is like over 600 pages, and it has a very long, lingering sex scene. We'll get Tance to tell us about that in a minute. But so
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. It's actually supposed. I think it's the only sex scene I have seen in a non-adult comic that is happy sex. It's like I think it's the first night of the couple after the marriage or something like that. And that was the prolonged one. Like she takes a lot of care to show, all the tenderness and the lovingness between them. But it really, it's highly detailed. And that, when I was reading it back in the day, gave me a very strong impression because I didn't find it dirty. Like, though it was so prolonged, it wasn't graphic per se. I don't know how to express it. And she also had, now that I remember, very earlier on, half of a rape scene, like 3 panels or something.
okay. And what?
So there you go.
The same comic?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that's why she had the prolonged scene, after, to compare and contrast, because it was about the same female character, and how she hated the first experience and loved the second one. I think that was the point.
Okay. Yeah. So you've got the balance there.
Mm-hmm.
But it must be very hard to have a sex scene over so many pages and not show things. How do you avoid that?
I think she had very clever camera angles, as far as I remember.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the typical Hollywood stuff is to always have the lady with a sheet up around her chest, and we'll show people from behind in the cowgirl position, but have a sheet over people's waists for no reason. And
or the girls always wear their bras, like they never take them off.
Yeah.
Of course, this is nature. Yeah, they don't come off. Apparently. Those are the kind of, the tricks of the trade. You know what to hide. And there's also a few positions where, you can show people together without showing what's actually connecting between them. There's just the sides of people. So you can do that. I mean, that's what I did in Pinky TA.
Or you can pan to the bedroom lamp and then have it be the morning.
One of the old techniques, of course, they parody in The Simpsons is to show like double entendre sort of things. So, people are passionate together, and then you show a train rushing into a tunnel. Something like that. Whistle blowing. And then when the sex scene ends, you show a champagne cork popping and champagne.
Right.
So you can use that for great comedic effect in a comic, but without it being adult at all, without it even being mature, just through clever use of symbols. Symbols, people. Use symbols. So much you can do. And the benefit of that is you're getting a wider audience, you're entertaining more people, whereas with this, an adult comic, you have a very limited audience, and when people read an adult comic, that's what they want to see. They want to see the adult situations. All the other story isn't as important to them, which, so there's other advantages.
Yeah. With the adult comic, I have this feeling that you can get away without actually having a plot, as long as you have, proper adult situations. So.
Although, one doesn't necessarily exclude the other. There's plot going on.
Yeah,
Trans-Neptunian by El Cid, and even death porn, although it's kind of, the plot isn't really the point necessarily in death porn. Like it's there, and it's kind of, I don't know what the word is, like a pastiche, or it kind of goes all over the place.
Yeah.
But
having it out
Trans-Neptunian definitely more of a story and a really good world building going on.
Yeah. Having it adult doesn't.
And there is
Oh, go on.
Yeah, no, after Game of Thrones really, shoved that adult situations in everyone's face. Now they have this new term coined that is called, I think it's called sexplanation or something like that. I don't remember exactly. Which is when you use sex in order to advance the plot. Like things are happening during the sex scene that are very important to the plot per se. So
yeah,
there's also that.
So that's an exposition trick, to have something interesting going on while you're
there you go. I think it's sexposition, not sexplanation.
Sexposition, yeah.
Well, that's a good point.
It's probably double entendre. Yes, please go on.
Well, Game of Thrones isn't an adult thing, and they don't actually show real sex. It's all simulated. So yeah, that's a very good addition to the discussion. So that's an example. If that's in a comic, you would be able to do a comic with those kind of sex scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, as Baines was saying, with death porn and all that kind of thing, even though they do have plots, and and being adult doesn't exclude plot, but they do have much longer sex scenes and much more involved sex scenes than you do in non-adult comics, and the sex scenes have to follow the actual sexual act in a way that comes from beginning to middle to conclusion, whereas in comics that don't have that focus on sex, they don't follow the whole act. They just show this is sex. Whereas in Trans-Neptunian, that they almost take a break to do a massive sex scene over 6 pages or something like that. That's the difference. So yeah, that's the difference, I would say. I mean, even Xander's story, I think it was called, or Xander, was a great comic, great comedy, great fantasy. It was a very intelligent comic, and had a excellent story. But they do have the sex scenes, and you do have to sort of put everything on hold to go through that. It does advance the plot. There is sexposition, but there is a great deal of focus on that thing. Whereas in these non-adult rated comics, the sex doesn't, unless it was with the Pepe thing with the faction. It doesn't.
Pepe's a newer comic, Cosmos Song. There's been a long kind of build-up as there's world building going on, and there's sort of character being revealed and all this kind of stuff. But as it's going along for multiple long pages, she does kind of double pages or more. There's been this very slow build-up of the relationship between these two characters building. You're kind of waiting for them to get to it. And by the time they finally do, you're like, Yeah, like it's kind of like it goes on for I don't know how many pages, but there's sort of this flirtation and this kind of seduction and this build-up going on between these two characters, and it's very effective. And I don't know, when you're reading it, you kind of you're taking in all the story and everything, but you're kind of really thinking about these two characters. That's kind of what comes through so strongly.
Yeah.
And a non-adult comic, but still, it works. You know.
But rather than thinking about the act and having that being titillating, you're thinking more of the relationship between the characters and a combination of
it's
the
both.
relationship.
Yeah.
So that
Also, I think that I think that when you are depicting a sex scene in order to present the note or hint at the relationship between the people having the sex, I think you have to think about more things on, even the positions that the couple chooses, or things like that are very strategic. And
that's a good point as well, because if it's a love-making scene, if it's more about love, it's going to be they're going to do different things than they are that they are in Trans-Neptunian, for example. So it's going to be more about passion and
If you had this emotional, like very sensuous build-up, and it led to like the type of over-the-top sex scene in Trans-Neptunia, that would be pretty amazing, actually. But I would be pretty bizarre.
And there's certain things that may be passionate, but really don't work well in showing like a passionate, delicate kind of scene. I mean, like 69s, for example. That's there's a mutual gratification going on there. It's a passionate thing, but to show it doesn't look very,
doesn't look good.
It's awkward, it just looks stupid.
And it depends on the way you shoot it, or like frame it, or draw it, or whatever. Maybe it's possible that it could work, but that would be a little bit. It could definitely kind of ruin the.
I think the way to see how not to depict any position is to open the Kama Sutra and like not do the illustrations that way.
The Book of Awkwardness, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's things like that. I mean, so if you want to, like you chose a specific sexual position for Without Moonlight. So this character's bent over the table, so that shows like a power relationship, obviously, which that kind of thing is. So yeah, character from behind, bent over a table. So that is a specific thing. But normally we'll show like the missionary, or if you want to show extreme passion, and you will show like maybe like a cowgirl or something like that, like a lady on top, and she's passionate, and you can hide a lot of things when you do that. So that's like show it from the back, all that kind of thing, as I did in Pinky TA. So those are the kind of things you can get away with. But yeah, there's certain things that don't work. Say in death porn, they'll show like these weird, I don't know, people flying around doing a 69 in the middle of the air, or like in anti-gravity or something, and which you just can't show. Obviously not, but yeah, it just doesn't work. So yeah, it's hard. Yeah, hard. It's very hard. But say, like, if you've ever seen the movie Hot Tub Time Machine, have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
So that
I have heard.
That is like a they're doing like a pastiche of 1980s comedies, 1980s sex comedies, which again are comedies that don't show, they show a lot of sex, that's the thing, but it's obviously not real sex. It's, simulated, and they cut away from it. And in Hot Tub Time Machine, they have this scene where this guy's going at it doggy style with this girl, and it's, really full on. And that is obviously not something that you show for like some kind of passionate build up or something like that, because that kind of thing is always, just too wild and just too energetic. So that is done for the pure comedy of the thing. So that's why they'd show that, but they could never show that in like a soap or a romantic movie. Just does not work. So yeah, it's
definitely not in a soap. That would be pretty shocking.
It depends what kind of soap, yeah, but I don't know. What are they doing in soaps these days? I haven't watched them for a while.
I haven't watched them lately. Yeah, maybe they're getting like raunchy. I don't know.
Yeah, let's just imagine. So yeah, there are politics to all those kind of aspects. But I don't know. I've done my thing. Someone else talk.
Yeah.
What about sex scenes in typical Strange Banes? Are you ever going to have one?
I think, I was just thinking, if there was like a raunchy sex scene, even more so maybe than in like Bottomless Waitress, it would be so jarring. I don't imagine most people would like it. It's just the comic is not set up to suggest that. Suggestion of sex is in there a lot, but and it could happen, but to go kind of all out graphic, raunchy, adult, like change the rating and go adult or even R-rated, I doubt people would like it. I could be wrong, but I doubt the readers would be completely on board with it.
But what about sex scenes that are in character, that are in story? So the way you show them, I suppose, is to have like two characters like disappear behind something and come back with like adjusting their clothes or something like that,
I do have that in mind for the future. Man, my updating is so slow lately. I'm so busy, but yes, for a future story, I do have something in mind, and you'll see the build up, you'll see the beginning, and then you'll see the kind of aftermath. Definitely, that's how I would do it. Yeah, editing,
So,
and it would be done for comedic purposes. It's a comedy, so.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Yeah, what would be the purpose of showing that in there? So you're not doing it to titillate, you're doing it to, it's to show, it's...
Bit of both.
The point is, you've got a relationship between characters, and that changes a relationship once that happens.
Yeah, it would be story, there would be a point to it, story-wise.
Yeah.
Character-wise, and yeah, exactly what you said. Yeah, well put. The main cast having sex with each other, that would change things so much. Maybe that I don't know for sure yet, but
Oscar and Abigail.
Various combinations I've thought of, like what would happen, and it would change the dynamic a lot. So I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon.
Oscar, Abigail, and Harley.
Well, now maybe.
Wow,
Oscar's contract is up for renewal. I don't want him to be demanding that. But.
TK's just imagining it, I suppose.
TK's a hound. I think he's like a real ladies' man. I haven't shown it much, but I think he's very gifted in that area. Right. So, but I wouldn't show the encounters. I don't think people want to see that really. I don't.
No, well, that's the thing. You say like in a sitcom like Seinfeld, for example, long-running comedy, him and Elaine were together one time, but they don't ever show it, and you would hate to see that. You'd never want to see Jerry having sex with someone. That would be awful. Be nothing less sexual than seeing any of those characters having sex.
Well, there was stuff with George. I remember one storyline, but you don't see. Of course, you don't see anything. It's all under the covers, and it's hysterical. Where he's trying to sort of do his thing, and it's not working. And he has instructions. He brought instructions with him to sort of to secretly read the instructions, or he writes it on his hand or something. I don't remember, but and then he gets found out, or he screws it up or something. And, pretty hilarious. But that's no visual to it. It's just, you just imagine what's going on down there, and it's not working out.
Yeah, and it's much better that you don't see it. Yeah.
Oh no, it would ruin it to see it. Yeah, it would be so shocking
to see Costanza naked in any way.
Well, Costanza's been naked. He's gone shirtless at least, pantsless, maybe not completely naked. I'm sure we didn't see a bare butt in that series. It was network TV.
Yeah, it would be very much boxer shorts. Big, baggy, comic relief ones.
Yeah. We've seen Homer Simpson's butt. Marge's, too. Homer's way more.
Marge's
and I've heard the Simpsons writers and the Futurama writers say that their rule of thumb seems to be, like, the less, like the character who you would least want to see naked is the one you're most likely to see naked. So that's the non-adult. That's the comedic version. Like the guy who's like 170 years old is the guy you're going to see naked.
Yeah.
And not the sexy, Leela or Zoidberg, who we would want to see naked.
Well, yeah, in Futurama, they do show a lot of sex scenes.
It's pretty sexual, actually, that show, yeah.
There's a lot of sexual tension in there, but
it
is quite a safe kind of thing. They do it very carefully and cleverly. But, yeah,
my comic is kind of modeled after Futurama in tone.
Good.
Like, Futurama is one of my... I really like the way they do that, and there's a lot of desire. There's a lot of I don't hint at sexuality as much as they do, I don't think, but yeah, definitely. There's a lot going on in that show.
So TK is modeled after Captain, what's his name in?
No, not in terms of characters, but just in terms of the tone of it and everything.
Yeah.
Abigail's modeled after Zoidberg. And
she's got crabs. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that show's pretty raunchy, actually. But anyway, yeah. I don't know if we...
I'm trying to think of any Drunkduck comics that do this. It's really tricky. Well, The Faction, of course. No. I just thought of something. I read so many Drunkduck comics and forget them because there's only limited space in my tiny head. Putrid Meat. Pitface has one or two sex scenes in there. And
it does.
Yeah, she depicts them very carefully, and the whole point of that is for pure comedic effect, but also advancing the plot. So, Bones has sex with Gretchen in order to produce the heir, her heir, who is going to be the ruler of all Septica. And I don't think she shows much in that. It's just Bones' desire, basically, to show Bones as an absolute mindless horn dog.
Actually, I remember that scene a lot for some reason. I don't know why, but has stayed with me. Like, she shows how Bones stares at Gretchen and Gretchen stares back, and she blows a bubble gum and pops it,
The seduction.
and then they both leave. And then there is this panel where they are definitely, horizontal, both of them, and doing it and everything. And he farts while doing that. And I think that takes away all of the sexiness. So it's only funny.
Which
doing
works
that.
very well for Putrid Meat. Yeah, that is the kind of thing it goes for. Gross out, comedic, exploding literally.
And then there is this other scene where he thinks he has sex with Gretchen, but it's a mutant. Then she has boobs that are also ear taps, I think, or something.
They are. So Gretchen becomes his dream of a dream woman.
Yes.
And he's actually having sex with a mutant, but he doesn't know it. But nothing is shown. Again, it's very cleverly done. So she's more showing us the desire that Bones feels, and obviously that desire is culminating in sex because of the beer tap boobs. What else does that indicate? So Pitface is a master of the comedic sex scene. So now we've covered sex scene used in comedic purposes. We've covered it in sensual purposes in the faction. We've covered it in like showing power relationship in Without Moonlight. What other kind of reasons are there to have a sex scene in a comic? In a non-adult comic. I mean, it advances the plots.
Yeah.
You show, as we said before, the culmination of a relationship between two characters. So, you have a building friendship, then sex, then that's a turning point. Where do the characters go from there? Do they become more intimately involved with each other, or does that burst the bubble? Is that the end of that relationship between the two? Does it suddenly change? Now they're suddenly not talking to each other. You can have sex for those kind of purposes as well, making everything extremely awkward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember there was this movie called Friends with Benefits. Not a very good one. I mean, it's basically a chick flick, in my opinion. But it had a very interesting premise, though, because there was this couple that, were officially only friends, and because they couldn't find partners or, things like that, they had agreed to have a no strings attached sexual, not relationship, but like a...
just having sex, basically.
A frivolous... Yeah, but that wouldn't, change anything in their friendship status. But what the movie shows is that after a particular, as the time goes by and they are in this particular relationship and no strings attached, the benefit part of the friendship, the friendship and the relationship does change, and in the end it cannot be no strings attached. It's impossible. So then they have to make certain decisions and so on and so forth, and that is an interesting thing to consider.
Yeah, it is. It's going to change your relationship no matter how things are done, because that's just socially, that's what happens. And that's interesting because that is a comedy movie based all around sex. That's what it's based around, and yet it's not adult because it tackles the relationship aspect. I think I've seen that movie too, and it isn't sexy. It's not a sexy film. It's just funny, and it has, the relationship stuff. So...
Yeah, exactly. I think it's they more use it as a plot point, and it's not the act itself that is the issue. It's how the relationship develops. I don't think that apart from these three things that we have said, you can really use a sex scene for anything else, except have it be gratuitous.
Yeah.
Like in Greek, a porn film, except for the official porn label, it's also called the Greek word for a tachon film. And the idea is that sex scenes were often used in raunchy Greek films just as filler. So in order, to fill the length of the movie. So they were tachons. Like they had the more explicit and longer lasting sex scene just to fill in time for the film. So these were tachons, and that's how, the vernacular for porn is that. So,
okay, yeah.
So,
for bulking out things.
Yeah, you clip it on, and it's...
yeah.
It's basically a clip-on. That's not a strap-on. Yeah.
I know what you
It's
mean.
like a clip-on tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know you know.
I know.
You know.
Okay. Yeah, and if you're doing an adult comic, that's how you'd use the sex scenes, because, it does fill in more space. It becomes the scene in itself. It is the purpose of what it is. It isn't some other thing. It isn't advancing anything. It is the thing that you're there for. I can't think of any non-adult comics where the sex scene is the thing that you want to see, is the scene. It always has to be something else in an adult comic, really, doesn't it? It's like say, there are certain movies where they will have a sex scene and that is the thing, like, say, 9.5 Weeks, where they have an amazing sex scene in that one movie. But
that's got to be an adult movie, though, no?
No, definitely not, because it's not an actual sex scene. It's just...
Here it was tagged, it was rated on, how do you call it? Like, we didn't have our ratings, but it was
XI
censored for, it was only for adults.
Softcore.
Yeah, basically. And all the people were trying to sneak into theaters to see the forbidden movie.
To seal out that fake sex. Let's say if a film like Blue Lagoon, it's the same kind of thing. Sex is very much the focus there, for a bit of it anyway.
Is it? I remember it more like as an adventure, more than
it
anything.
is, but there's a lot of sex between the two main characters. And the Blue Lagoon.
Wow, I don't remember a single sex scene between these guys. Like, not even one.
Wow, you'll have to watch it again. Slowly. Pausing frequently. Rewind, pause. So,
I should play a game of find the sex scene in that movie. I seriously, I don't remember a single sex scene in that one. Wow.
Probably because they're not very good. It's not very sexy.
That's probably it, yeah.
Yeah, so there's those kind of things that are not adult, and yet they do have sex is the main focus. So you could do that in a not adult comic, but what would be the point? Because when you can see sex, then why wouldn't you? I suppose that's the thing. In comics, you can do a comic with an A rating. So if you want to have it, sex being the main focus, that's what you do. You show the whole thing. With these movies, the whole point was to get viewers in and to get them a massive wide audience by showing this titillating stuff, that's available to younger people and, whatever, but without it crossing any lines, which you could do. So that doesn't really exist in comics, at least on Drunkduck, because you can show everything if you want. So all you do is change the rating. Yeah. So that's an interesting dynamic. If you want to show sex, then do it. Just be prepared to change your rating. And there is no point to do a 9.5 weeks thing.
Yeah.
Unless, there is a story carrying on, like in The Faction, with its enormous sex scene. So, I mean, well, go on.
Oh, nothing. Sorry. Yeah.
No.
It sounded like you were about to end, so I was gonna. Yeah.
Well, we were about 53 minutes in, and I've pretty much blown the wad.
You're spent. Yeah.
I'm spent.
Well, you can that enough, I guess.
It's hard to at this point. I think I've covered most things. What about you guys?
Yeah.
Can you think of any other aspects to the?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think it's very. I mean, it's a given what you can do with, with the act. Like it's very specific. Everyone knows it, and there are only very specific ways in which you can actually approach it, just like sex itself, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Exactly. Only so many ways you can cover this. All right. I think we have been very thorough. We have thoroughly rogered this subject to death. So this has been the Awkward Cast. This is Sexcast number 295. Thank you very much, Sexy Banes.
Thank you.
Super Sexy Tans.
Thank you. So.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I need a cigarette.